Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're looking at what has to be one of the most fascinating intersections of biological science and high finance you will literally ever encounter. We're going to unpack a single, absolutely wild premise, the Yale Monkey Experiment that explains Wall Street crashes. Now, I know it sounds like a setup to a joke, right? But believe me, this is a very real, profoundly deep connection that we are going to decode today. So, what actually links an Ivy League primate lab to financial district chaos? I mean, picture it. On one side, you have this quiet, meticulously controlled environment with Yale researchers observing monkeys. And then on the exact opposite side, you have this screaming, frantic, unbelievably high-stakes chaos of a Wall Street trading floor during a total meltdown. Traders shouting, algorithms completely misfiring, literally billions of dollars vanishing in the blink of an eye. Figuring out how these two completely different worlds collide, well, that's our mission today. Which brings us to Section 1, Wall Street crashes, the financial phenomenon. Wall Street crashes. When we hear those words, we instantly think of panic, right? Fortunes just poof, vanishing in seconds. Now, a crash isn't just a dip in a stock chart. It's a massive, systemic failure where traditional logic completely flies out the window. Just think about the 2008 financial crisis. You had these supposedly rational institutions holding on to toxic subprime mortgages until the entire global economy basically collapsed. Or, actually, think about the 2010 flash crash. In something like 36 minutes, $1 trillion in market value simply evaporated. Literally, traders on the floor were just paralyzed, watching blue-chip stocks drop to a single penny. Now, traditional economic models, they tell us that humans are rational actors, that we always maximize our utility based on the data. But when you look at the sheer, unadulterated panic of a crash, well, rational is just about the last word that comes to mind. It's this wild environment where fear completely, totally overrides the math. So we're talking about the phenomenon of severe, chaotic financial market downturns. But here is why this really matters for you and me. A crash isn't just about the math or the algorithms. It's this giant puzzle of human behavior. Like, why do highly educated, deeply experienced traders suddenly just cave to irrational panic? Well, the answer actually lies in a field called behavioral economics. And that field suggests that humans aren't these rational, calculating machines at all. Actually, scratch that. We are deeply flawed emotional creatures, and we're prone to very predictable errors when the stakes get high. And to truly decode this herd mentality, to really get it, we actually have to step away from humans entirely. Let's jump right into Section 2, the Yale Monkey Experiment, an Ivy League primate study. Okay, let's break down the core elements of this study because it's fascinating. First, Yale, an Ivy League institution obviously representing super rigorous academic methodology. Second, monkey, specifically Capuchin monkeys. They act purely on base instincts without all the messy complication of human cultural conditioning. And third, experiment. So researchers essentially introduced these monkeys to a functioning currency system. No joke. They gave the Capuchins these small silver tokens and taught them that the tokens could be exchanged for treats like grapes or apples. And the monkeys caught on amazingly fast. They totally understood the value of the money. They actually learned to budget. When researchers dropped the price of apples, the monkeys bought more apples. If grapes got more expensive, they bought fewer grapes. They even started exhibiting behaviors we thought were uniquely human, like reacting to inflation and literally hoarding wealth. This wasn't just some anecdotal observation. This was a highly structured attempt to isolate economic behavior in its absolute purest biological form. So, how does a primate experiment relate to human finance? Now, what's really interesting about this slide is just how jarring it is to compare a Capuchin monkey trading a little silver token for a grape to a derivatives trader in Manhattan moving millions in a millisecond, right? I mean, one operates in a small enclosure with a researcher, and the other operates in this vast global network of supercomputers and high-frequency algorithms. But as you'll see, the underlying connection we're about to explore is absolutely undeniable. All right, let's bring it all together in Section 3, explaining the connection, bridging the gap. By entirely stripping away all those sophisticated suits and the complex economic jargon of Wall Street, we're basically left with fundamental biological imperatives. The primate lab essentially becomes a mirror for us. And here is where the experiment gets truly mind-blowing. The researchers wanted to test how the monkeys handled risk and loss. So they set up two scenarios. In the first one, a monkey is given a token and shown one grape. Sometimes, as a cool bonus, the researcher adds a second grape. Boom, the monkey experiences a game. In a second scenario, the monkey is shown two grapes. But when they hand over the token, the researcher sometimes takes one grape away. Now, the monkey still gets one grape, literally the exact same net outcome as the first scenario, but they experienced it as a loss. And what happened? The monkeys absolutely hated it. They aggressively avoided the researcher who took a grape away. To avoid that terrible feeling of a guarantee loss, the monkeys would suddenly start taking wild, totally irrational gambles. In behavioral economics, this is called prospect theory, specifically loss aversion. Basically, the pain of losing is psychologically twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining. And this brilliantly illustrates our point. The monkeys, just like humans, took massive irrational risks to avoid a perceived loss. And that perfectly scales up to the kind of herd panic we see on Wall Street.
The logical progression here is super clear. Step 1, we observe primates making financial choices in a controlled setting. Step 2, we observe Wall Street traders panicking in a chaotic setting. And step 3, the explanation connects them. The irrational behaviors we see in the monkey enclosure are the exact same biological responses driving a global financial meltdown. Think about it. When a trader's portfolio starts tanking, their brain doesn't just sit there and do the rational math. Nope. It goes full capuchin mode. It panics, it feels that deeply disproportionate pain of loss, and it starts making reckless, crazy bets to avoid that pain at absolutely all costs.
One entirely explains the other. Let that sink in for a second. The chaos of a global financial meltdown isn't necessarily a failure of modern economic theory. Instead, it's actually a manifestation of ancient, deeply ingrained primate biology. The capuchin monkeys in that Ivy League lab aren't just a fun little analogy for us. They are the fundamental explanation for the chaos. We quite literally share the exact same evolutionary hardware. Which brings us right back to our source material, the Yale Monkey Experiment that explains Wall Street crashes. So the crucial point is that understanding our most complicated financial systems actually requires us to understand our most basic evolutionary instincts. The bridge between Yale and Wall Street is built entirely on the foundation of our shared biology. That evolutionary risk aversion, the stuff hardwired into our brains millions of years ago, is exactly what drives the boom and bust cycles of modern capitalism today. I want to leave you with this final, truly provocative thought. Are our most complex financial behaviors really just primate instincts in disguise? When the market crashes and billions of dollars just evaporate, are we seeing a failure of complex financial modeling? Or are we just watching the primate brain react to danger? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the systems around you, and I will see you next time.